So where was he at? Salakia.
We were looking. You were about to show a cart.
Oh yeah. So I'm gonna go into this his rant. So just give me a second. Let me add this. Share screen.
in helping Black Americans. So much so that I started identifying.
This cartoonist, Scott Adams, take the bait and engage in the rant. So let's watch.
I'd like to focus a lot of my life resources in helping Black Americans. So much so that I started identifying as Black to just be on the team I was. But you know, that nearly half of that team,
He said,
I'm okay to be white, which is, of course, why I identified as Black, because so
he said that he identified as Black to help Black people out. So I guess what he's saying is when he would vote or when he would, write down on some type of form what ethnicity he is, he would say that he was Black, right? And what the brother just read, Salaki, if you getting back into the stream, it went down unexpectedly. But what the brother had just read, the young man Jaime, what he just read was that he's upset over a poll, over a conservative poll. This poll is a conservative poll. They're polling people. They come out with the polls about if who's popular, Donald Trump or this one or this candidate, but they lean more to I believe the Republican side. But they had a poll where they were asking Black people about the phrase "stop acting." It's okay to be white. There's a phrase I've never heard of it. I mean, I didn't know this phrase existed, but there's a phrase called "it's okay to be white," and they said that this phrase is usually used by like groups like extremist groups, white supremacist groups. They use this phrase, and when Black people were asked about this, do they agree with white people using this? I think 20%, 26% of them said no, and because of that, this is where he got upset and said, well, they're a hate group. Black people are a hate group. And you know what? I'm going to take back my, my help that I've been giving Black people and me identifying as Black or whatnot. Let me just let it play a little more.
Could be on the winning team for a while. But I have to say, this is the first political poll that ever changed my activities. I don't know that that's ever happened before. And normally you just look at it and you go, whatever. Yeah. Oh, this is interesting what other people think.
All right.
But as of today, I'm going to re-identify as white because I want to be a member of a hate group. I'd accidentally.
So
1,000%. I mean, it's a ridiculous.
He was identifying as. Let me hold on. Let me find it one more time.
And helping Black Americans. I identified as Black because so I could be on the winning team for a while.
So he said he was identifying as Black, but now he wants to identify as white again because he doesn't want to be a part of a hate group. When the hell has Black people been a hate group? When have you ever seen Black people or Hispanic people, for that part, hurt or do anything to white people? When did we become a hate group? The brother told me that he's in here, but let me see. I'm trying to add another brother. He just hit me up. Karatazar. I don't see you, Karatazar. If you can hear me, I don't. It's not popping up where I could add you. Salakia. Yeah, but when has Black when was at what point in American history were Black people burning and lynching white Americans? At what point were Black people, terrorizing white groups? At what point were Hispanic, Mexican people, Puerto Rican people, at what point were they terrorizing white people or could be even considered a hate group? Black and Hispanic people are some of the most forgiving and loving people. You want to know why? You want to know why I know that? Is because we love our oppressor to the point to we actually hate each other. So what, I don't know what the hell he is talking about. And this seems to be something that, middle age, older, or close to elderly Kens and Karens go through, where they just say outrageous and outlandish things, and the true racism just rises up out of them. It's like they can't help it, right? Let me play it a little more.
But I have to say, this is the first political poll that ever changed my activities.
So this was a political poll that he based all of this at Black people being a hate group. 26% of the people they polled. This is not all Black people in America. This is just the people that they polled. That 26%, and he based what he's saying off of all of that Black people are a hate group, right?
I don't know that that's ever happened before. Normally you see a poll, you just look at it, and you go, whatever. Oh, this is interesting what other people think. But as of today, I'm going to re-identify as white.
Oh,
because I don't want to be a member of a hate group. I'd accidentally joined a hate group. So if nearly half of all Blacks are not okay with white people, according to this poll, not according to me, according to this poll, that's a hate group. That's a hate group. And I don't want to have anything to do with them.
So I'm going to drop that. So, as the brother had read before I played that video, what you going to say, Jaime?
That's a lucky. I think to him it sounds smart, having some type of common sense or something. Like he's trying to say, oh, it's a given that we are like racist or a hate group or whatever, when they're the ones that do all the atrocities all over the world.
Right, and this is the thing. He's basing that off of a poll. He's basing that off of a poll, right? That's only, polls and surveys, they only talk to a certain amount of people. They probably might talk to 1,000 people, 1,500 people, and they come up with a percentage of who said yes, who said no, and he's basing it off of that. We're talking about a poll versus real actions. We're talking like last time I checked, Black and Hispanic people are not running up into Walmart shooting every damn body. The last time I seen, Black and Hispanic people have never hurt white people based on the fact that they were white. Have never done anything wrong to white people, white Americans, based on the simple fact because they have white skin, they have blue eyes. You don't see that, but you have saw the opposite. You have saw them do that to us, right? So who's the real hate group? Like who's the real hate group? Sister said, Salaki, yes, sis, that is the guy from the newspaper. And the thing is, he's been around for a long time, so he's made a big career. And this is him getting dropped from all of these newspapers and these tabloids. Is not, it's not the end of the world for him. The only thing that's going to be hurt is his pride. His pride is going to be hurt because he's been around for so long, and they run his cartoon in newspapers all over the world. So now all of these are getting dropped, and it's not going to hurt him, right? Because he's made his he's built his life off of that. And of course, when anything happens to them, I was just the same story I just played in the comments. White Americans are in support of him. All right. So just like when a white cop kills a black man, they come together, they gather together, they make a GoFundMe, and they take care of their own. He's going to be okay. He might just get another job in the next few weeks. That's just how they come together whenever it's based on something that is hateful towards us. You know what I mean? Let me see. If you could, let me see. Let's get Exodus. What I want Exodus with the children of Israel when a new Pharaoh rose up. That might be Exodus 1:1, right? A new Pharaoh rose up that didn't know Joseph. Right. Oh, let me see. It's not 1:1. It'll be around it'll be like 8. Oh, well, no. Exodus 1:6. But just hold that. What I want to say also is that it's almost like white Americans act as though they are like godlike, and they have done everything they can do for Black and Hispanic people. And then we have become the scapegoat of all the problems in America. Like, we are the ones that they blame for everything. We are the ones that they say it's because of you. We are the ones that when they're having a bad day, they look at us and say, if only we wasn't in their country. And they look at us as though they giving us everything, right? And they giving us every opportunity, when in reality, they haven't given us a damn thing. When in reality, what they have done, what Dilbert and his people have done, have used Blacks and Hispanics get on the same level as them. They came and destroyed what we had. They always looked at us with envy and hate, and never wanted to look at us as human beings, never wanted to look at us as equals. And we can't blame them. We shouldn't want them to look at us as equals. We should look at each other as though we're better than everybody because we're God's chosen people, right? But they act as though they have been so kind and they've been so gentle, and they've extended a hand of brotherhood, and they've been the thing that is just goodness and benevolence and just all of those good attributes that a person should be. And we're just the bottom of the barrel, and we're just natural born criminals, and we're just people that don't want to pull up ourselves by our bootstraps, when nothing can be further from the truth. So, brother, if you could give me what I wanted Exodus. Excuse me. I wanted Exodus what?
1:6.
1:6. Go ahead and give me that.
And Joseph died, and all his brethren, and all that generation were 7. And the children of Israel were fruitful and increasing abundantly, and multiplied and waxed exceedingly mighty.
So Joseph died, and because of Joseph, when we went into Egypt, we had a lot of favor in Egypt because Joseph became visor. He could tell the Pharaoh his dreams. He told him about how to prepare for famine. Joseph was very wise, and Joseph was well respected in Egypt. He rose to second in command over all of Egypt. And so the Israelites were respected during that time. Now Joseph died, but after Joseph died, the Israelites waxed. Read that again. What was that? Verse 7?
Verse 7, and the children of Israel were fruitful and increased abundantly.
We were fruitful. Salakia. We were fruitful, meaning we had children. We had babies. We're fruitful now. We're fruitful even with drug addiction, even with 1 out of 4 women, Black women, Hispanic women dying during pregnancy, even with abortion, even with all the things that are against us. We're still the most fruitful people in America. We were fruitful in ancient Egypt, and we waxed exceeding. Salakia, go ahead, read it again. Salakia, verse 7.
Verse 7, and the children of Israel were fruitful and increased abundantly and multiplied and waxed exceedingly mighty.
And so we waxed exceedingly mighty. We multiplied, we grew, and we got strong. We got strong in America too. We got strong in Black Wall Street. We got strong in Weeksville, New York. We got strong in Tulsa, Oklahoma. We got strong cities, Allensworth, California. We got Rosewood. We got strong. We waxed stronger and stronger coming out of slavery to where we were building our own towns and cities, right? Go ahead.
And the land was filled with them. Verse 8. Now there rose up a new king over Egypt, which knew not Joseph.
Now there rose up a new king, a new king, a new Pharaoh rose up, and he didn't know Joseph, and he didn't respect Joseph as being, he didn't respect the fact that Joseph saved their country, saved their nation of Egypt, right? He didn't know Joseph. He didn't know of the great things that came from God's chosen people. Go ahead.
Verse 9, and he said unto his people, behold, the people of the children of Israel are more and mightier than we. Verse 10, come on, let us deal wisely with them.
And see, that's the thing. They realize, and even now, they realize that we will wax more mightier than them. They fear that. America fears that one day blacks and Hispanics will rise up and become mightier than them. So what they got to do? They got to do things to keep you down. They got to enforce laws. They got to set rules. They got to make legislation. They got to make you do things this way, and they got to make it hard on you to ever get a foot up. That's what they did. They realized that in ancient Egypt also. Go ahead.
Lest they multiply, and it come to pass that when there falleth out any war, they join also unto our enemies,
right,
and fight against us.
So, like, hold that real quick. Just hold where you at. Let me get there with you.
Concert.
Let me get there with you. Okay.
I'm on 1 and 10, sir.
1 and 10. Okay, I just want to make sure I'm there's a precept I want. I thought that's where I was going. I get it real quick. So like, okay, so where we at? We at verse 10.
Concert.
Okay, verse 10. Begin at verse 10 again. So like you.
The book of Exodus, chapter 1, verse 10. Come on, let us deal wisely with them, lest they multiply, and it come to pass that when there falleth out any war, they join also unto our enemies and fight against us.
Right.
And so get them up out of the land.
So get them up out of the land. So they said they wanted to deal, they looked at us as though we might get stronger than them. And then in our strength, we might connect with someone who is their enemy. So they said we can't have that. And we need to get them up out of the land. If you could give me Exodus, I want Exodus 2:25.
The book of Exodus, chapter 2, verse 25. And God looked upon the children of Israel, and God had respect unto them.
Wait, 2:25. Give me go ahead of it. Go about 3 verses up.
The book of Exodus, chapter 2, verse 23.
Yeah, that's what I want.
And it came to pass in process of time that the king of Egypt died.
The king in a process of time, this is after Moses had his firstborn son. In the process of time, the king of Egypt died. The Pharaoh died. Go ahead.
And the children of Israel's
sighed
by reason of the bondage, and they cried, and their cry came up unto God by reason of the bondage.
So the children of Israel, because of their bondage, they sighed. They said, damn, this is hard work. Blacks and Hispanics, you sighed in slavery. Mexicans, you sighed when the Spanish conquistadors came. The North American Indians sighed and cried when the white settlers came and fought them and tried to hunt them night and day to take this land called America. You sighed. You understand? Go ahead.
The book of Exodus, chapter 2, verse 24. And God heard their groaning, and God remembered his covenant with Abraham, with Isaac, and with Jacob.
And the Lord heard those cries. The Lord hears those cries that blacks, Hispanics have. The Lord heard those cries in Egypt. He heard those, right? And he remembered what his covenant, his agreement between Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, right? I want you to drop this, right? And what I want to talk about right now is we're still talking about this thing about Dilbert and how, see, what you got to understand is that a lot of white Americans, they think like that. They're just passive aggressive. They're passive aggressive. So they feel like what he just said, they feel the same way, but they won't say it. You work with them every day. You go to school with them every day, right? You have to deal with them and talk to them at the Social Security office. You have to, you talk to them when you're walking, throughout, shopping in Walmart. These people actually feel like this, but they also have to, be in agreement with the idea of the greater good, and that they're better and they're civilized and they're better than that, right? But deep down inside, we know who they are. According to the Bible, we know who the Edomites are, and we know how they feel about us. And it's almost like something they can't help. And I don't know if you remember, Jaime, you remember when it was a time where it still happens, but it was a time where it was Karens left and right. Karens having a problem with blacks, Hispanics left and right. Like, if it ain't one thing, it's another thing. And it's like, you think like, damn, can you just let people live? And then you realize, like, according to the Bible, they really can't help it. It's in them for it to come out that way. And you would think, like, with all the people with cell phones and cameras and people putting Karens on cameras, they would just stop. They would say, like, maybe I should just go water my garden instead of, arguing with this Hispanic man about selling food on the corner. Maybe I should just, go in and, make some mashed, what they be making? What is it? So like
some macaroni.
Some macaroni with raisins. Maybe I should just make some macaroni with raisin salad, and and not go out out there and mess with those black people that's barbecuing. But they can't help themselves. And then you see where there were just like shootings left and right of unarmed black and brown men by police officers. And you're just like, Black and Hispanic people, y'all don't see this. You don't see spiritually what's happening. It's because spiritually that's in them to do these things. Now, I'm not saying that it might be some, some white Americans that are good. They have the spirit of an abolitionist, and they have the spirit of, we all are one, and we're all equal, and we should all get along and hold hands in the spirit of brotherhood. But the prophecies of the Bible will always be true, and you can't get away from the fact that what the Lord says who they are those people. And if you could, just to throw that down, give me Ezekiel 35 and 5.
Ezekiel. Ezekiel 35 and verse 5. Because thou hast had a perpetual hatred and hast shed the blood of the children of Israel by the force of the sword in the time of their calamity, in the time that their iniquity had end. Verse 6. Therefore, as I live, saith the Lord, I will prepare thee unto blood, and blood shall pursue thee. Since thou hast not hated blood, even blood shall pursue thee.
Now, so like I should have slowed you down, but in the beginning it says, thou hast had a perpetual hatred against the children of Israel. Now, a perpetual hatred is a never-ending hatred. It's a hatred that won't go away. Laws won't stop that hatred. What else? The hatred of the Edomites towards the children of Israel. There is nothing that actually could stop that. Now, you could say, well, I've had great experiences with Edomites, at work, at home. I have Edomites in my family. And that's on a personal level. So when it comes to a personal level, what's true for you is not true for the majority of us. So you cannot speak to the majority of Blacks and Hispanics in their dealings with Edomites or, white Americans. What the Bible says is true. These prophecies are tried and tested. And so it says they will have a perpetual hatred. And you may think that you live in a post-racial society, which means that you live in a society that is past. So like you live in a society that is past. It is past racism. So again, let me get this real quick. But you do not live in a society that is past racism. You live in a society that reminds you that racism still exists every day. Right? That's the society that we live in. We are reminded on a daily basis that racism exists. We are reminded on a daily basis that what we look like does matter. And how we carry ourselves is very important because it could be an outcome and how we're dealt with. That does matter. And it's all based on us having brown or black skin. So we don't live in a post-racial society. And so when it comes to that hatred, it's a hatred, like I said, it's a passive aggressive hatred. Now, they call it post-racial, but really it's passive aggressive. It's still there, but they don't want to just come out and tell you, right? And every now and then they slip up. Every now and then they get caught on camera. And then what happens, like with Dilbert, what ends up happening is they have to drop him. They have to drop him from all the newspapers. They have to fire him to make an example to keep everyone pacified and feeling like we live in a society that is equal and everybody stands together. When in reality, it's really just about money. It's just about money. Like what was the it was an NBA guy. He owned the Clippers. Donald Sterling. He owned the Clippers, and he had a black girlfriend, a young girl, right? And I think she recorded him talking about how he doesn't, want her to hang around black people. I guess she was sitting at a game with Magic Johnson, and he was just talking about them in a way. He was talking about black people in a way as like animals, right? And he owns a team with black basketball players. But it came out to where you couldn't get away from it, and he was Jewish also. It came out to the point. Who's this? Ruthless Truth says, "Do you teach hatred?" We don't teach. Listen, when it comes to hatred, I'll ask you this, Ruthless Truth: do you believe in the Bible, right? And do you believe that hate is in the Bible, right? So when it comes to getting back to Donald Sterling, so he was also Jewish. He was an owner. What they ended up doing was saying he could never own a team again, right? But they had to do something because it was recorded. So they had to make an example to show people like, okay, we do actually stand with everybody and we are all against racism, when that's not the truth. The Bible tells you that they will have a perpetual hatred, a never ending hatred. If you could read it from the top for me, Jaime, please.
The book of Ezekiel, chapter 35, verse 5. Because thou hast had a perpetual hatred and hast shed the blood of the children of Israel by the
Go ahead, keep going.
By the force of the sword in the time of their calamity, in the time that their iniquity had an end. Verse 6.
So they shed the blood of the children, Salakia, Jaime. They shed the blood of the children of Israel with the force of the sword. The Romans did it. And in the modern day sword today is the gun. So in ancient times, they did it. And in modern times, it's been done to God's chosen people who are blacks, Hispanics, and Native American Indians. Keep reading.
Verse 6. Therefore, as I live, saith the Lord, I will prepare thee unto blood, and blood shall pursue thee. Sith thou hast not hated blood, even blood shall pursue thee.
So the Lord is saying that since you ain't hated blood, he said, I'm going to prepare for you to die the same way you have killed my people. Since you ain't hated blood, I'm going to prepare blood for you. Right? So hold on, Salakia. Ruthless Truth. Am I willing to have a conversation? What does that mean? But you said you believe in the Bible. So hate is in the Bible, and we hate what God hates. That's just the basics of it. Now, as far as having a conversation, what do you mean by that? Go ahead, Doc.
Verse 7. Thus will I make Mount Seir most desolate, and cut off from it him that passeth out and him that returneth.
So Mount Seir, biblically, historically, Mount Seir was the kingdom of the Edomites. The Edomites are the forefathers, the Edomites are Esau is the forefather of every white person on the planet Earth today. Now, people don't do research, so people that believe in the Bible really don't know the Bible. Everybody that was in the Bible in Genesis 18, all of those nations are still here today. You just got to figure out who they are today because everybody's name has been changed. Even the people that will play a role in World War III. You know what I'm saying? So when it comes to, whether, do we hate white people? Do we teach hate or whatnot? We have wonderful lives. We don't have lives that are full of hate. But what I will say is that we do hate what has happened to our people. When I look at what has happened to Native American Indians, when I look at what happened to Black people in the transatlantic slave trade, when I look at what happened to Mexicans or Mayans, Aztec Indians when the Spanish conquistadors came, it definitely infuriates me. And I do hate what has happened. No different than what a Jewish man hates what happens to his people in the Holocaust. So no one would complain. No one would argue with a Jewish man over his hatred for Nazis. From what I heard is that from what I heard is Jewish people don't even buy German cars. Like a Jewish person won't buy a Mercedes Benz because it's tied into the Nazis to this day. And from what I've seen, if they find a Nazi that any kind of way had any participation in the Holocaust, they could be in a wheelchair with an oxygen tank. They're going to bring them in the courtroom and prosecute them.
Good night.
They do not give a damn how old you are. They don't care if you got your arms missing. They are going to get justice. Well, God's people, the children of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians, Black people, Mexican people, Cuban, Puerto Rican people, the Seminole Indians, the Gadites, they never got justice. Who is going to give us our justice? Who is going to come and say, who is going to come and bang that gavel and say, you're guilty for the crimes and for the blood that screams from the ground? If you could give me Baruch 3 and 4, the book of Baruch 3 and 4. It's like it. Ruthless truth. I'm giving you the true meaning of the Bible. The true meaning of the Bible is the law, statutes, and the records and the prophecies of a people called the Hebrew Israelites. That's the true meaning of the Bible. It's not really deep. Remember the dead Israelites?
Salaki, I can't find it.
In Apocrypha, the Baruch, in Apocrypha, Baruch 3 and 4. It might be 4 and 3. I could be mixing them up.
Salaki, sir.
No boy.
Three and 4, you said?
Con.
There's the book of Baruch, chapter 3, verse 2. Hear, O Lord, and have mercy, for thou art merciful and have pity upon us, because we have sinned before thee.
We sin like our forefathers, like we're not innocent in what has happened, what has happened to us. When it comes to life, everything has a cause and an effect, right? There's consequences to the things that you do, even in your life in modern times. Just take away the Bible. Just act like the Bible doesn't exist. If you go do something wrong to someone, there is consequences for that. If you go steal from someone, there's consequences, right? There are consequences in everything that you do. Well, when it comes to the God of Israel, the God of the Bible, and his people, there were consequences when we disobeyed the Most High. Go ahead.
Verse 3, for thou endurest forever, and we perish utterly.
Go ahead.
Verse 4, O Lord Almighty, thou God of Israel, hear now the prayers of the dead Israelites.
Now we died deaths that we don't have to die. And this is not nothing new. Has been happening since ancient times. And the Lord always used other nations to punish us. So he, at one point in time, he sent the Assyrians against us because we were worshiping other gods. Another time he sent the Persian and Medes. Another time he sent the Greeks. Then the Romans. Today it's the Americans, right? He's always used other people to punish us for our deeds. It's not like the Lord reached down, a hand comes out of the clouds and punishes us. He uses other nations. But there was a time when we were doing what the Lord said that no nation could touch us, even if they had an army more mightier and bigger than us, because the Lord was on our side. A lot of nations understand this. A lot of nations do know that Black, Hispanic, and Native Indian people are the real Jews, are the children of Israel. But as long as they sin against the Lord, as long as they do the things that are against the Lord, like celebrate European holidays, like eat pork, shrimp, crab, and lobster, like like live sexually deviant lifestyles, like sell drugs, like murder one another, like hate one another without a cause, then they know that the Lord is not with us. They know that the Lord is not on our side, and they can do as they please with us. And they can get away with usury, which is using us, which is excuse me, um, loan sharking, setting up businesses in our communities and robbing us and never hiring us. And they know that the other nations know that they could just use us, and we're just money signs. When it comes to the Black and Hispanic communities, we're just money signs to these other nations. They just look at us. They'll set up a liquor store. They'll set up some type of store, some shop, some nail shop, some donut shop, something in a Black and Hispanic community, some weed dispensary where Black and Hispanic people can't even get a weed dispensary. You got to go through so many hoops and bounds. And I'm not saying that you need to get one, but I'm saying the irony is that you can't get it, but they can. But you go to jail and you're under the goddamn jail for selling weed, for having a bag of weed. Not saying that you should smoke, you shouldn't smoke weed or sell drugs, right? But the point is that we die stupid deaths. We live in a horrible state because we sin against the Lord. And year after year, time after time, century after century, generation after generation, our people have died deaths that they shouldn't have died, right? And they cried out to the Lord in their ignorance, not knowing who the Lord was. And there's so many Black people and Hispanic people today in their ignorance that get on their knees and pray and cry to the Lord, but they don't know the God of the Bible. They know the God of religion. They know white Jesus. They know the God that they heard their grandma talk about, their abuela talk about, but they don't know the God of the Bible. They don't know the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Go ahead and read that.
Okay. Verse 4, O Lord Almighty, thou God of Israel.
Ruthless. Do you smoke weed? I just, Salaki, I ain't even been looking at the chat, but do you smoke weed? That's answer that question. Go ahead.
Hear now the prayer of the dead Israelites and their children, which have sinned before thee, and not hearken unto the voice of thee their God, for which cause these plagues cleave unto us. Verse 5.
So the Bible says that here, so he's saying, hear the prayers. Baruch is saying, hear the prayers of the dead Israelites and their children. So there's been generations of Israelites that prayed for a change and prayed for answers and deliverance, right? For their iniquity, but they were ignorant to the iniquity. They were ignorant to why were they in that situation. Our forefathers were ignorant in slavery to why they was on a plantation. But they used to run out in the middle of the night and sneak out into the bush and go pray and ask for deliverance. The Gadites was ignorant to the devices of the white settlers, but they would pray. They would do the ghost dance, and they would believe in the Great Spirit, and they would try to find answers to why is this plague, this virus called the European here on America's soil, trying to take everything. The Mexicans would pray to the gods, the Aztec gods, the Mayan gods, and try to figure out through the shamans, through the prophecies of why have these strange people come on the shores. You understand? The Bible is saying, hear the prayers of these dead Israelites. They died praying and asking in their ignorance to the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, because they forgot who they were. They just wanted to know, why is this happening? Well, now we see why all these things are happening. Thanks to the I.S.U.P.K since 1969, teaching Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians their true heritage and what we are supposed to be doing, we can see clearly why we die. We can see clearly what has happened to us, right? Anything else on that? I'll just drop that. Where we at? Ruthless. Hey, Ruthless, you have too much time on your hands. You're gonna have to, you're gonna answer the question. Do you smoke weed? Do you smoke weed? That's what I want to know. Where we at? So we on exit. So what I want to talk about, if you could give me an article on the Bracero program, the Bracero program in America. Jaime. Bracero program is a program where they would get Mexicans, bring them to America to work in different fields of agriculture during the war, because there was no workforce, because everybody went to war. And I'm gonna find a video to pull up for you. So like, yeah.
Got it, sir.
You got it? Okay. Go ahead and read when you're ready.
The Bracero program, from the Spanish term bracero.
So like, wait, just hold that. So Ruthless, you do smoke. Before you can even challenge me in anything, you're gonna have to put down the weed. You're gonna have to put down the drugs. You're not on my level. All right. Fight the demon. Fight that demon first. You can't even sit with me, because you're not stronger than a plant. All right. You're not stronger than a plant. Go ahead, Doc.
The Bracero program, meaning manual labor or one who works using his arms, was a series of laws and diplomatic agreements initiated on August 4th, 1942, when the United States signed the Mexican Farm Labor Agreement with Mexico.
So the United States signed a farm agreement with Mexico to get workers, right? Go ahead.
For these farm workers, the agreement guaranteed decent living conditions and a minimum wage of 30 cents an hour.
30 cents an hour. And let me just say, like, 30 cents an hour, that's still a reality today, where these corporations will use cheap labor versus, spending more money. They will rather, instead of hiring people from America, that won't go for those wages. They'll get undocumented workers because they know they can pay them pennies on the dollar. Go ahead.
As well as protection from forced military service,
Mm-hmm.
and guaranteed that a part of the wages was to be put into private savings accounts in Mexico. It also allowed the importation of contract laborers from Guam as a temporary measure during the early phases of World War II. The agreement was extended with the Migrant Labor Agreement of 1951, enacted as an amendment to the Agricultural Act of 1949 by the United States Congress.
Salaki, I forgot. I did send it to you. I sent you an article. Salaki, on you're not using your phone, right?
Concert.
You are.
Yeah.
I saw you. I sent you using it for the video.
Yes.
Okay, no sweat. Don't sweat it.
Can you see me still?
I can't see you, but it doesn't really matter. If you could read the article that I sent you, that would be Tawab. Because I sent you, and it's not that long, it's short.
Read the highlighted part.
No, just read it. I think it might be 3 paragraphs. So don't. I think that's just how the article is designed online. I didn't highlight that. It was already highlighted.
Okay. An executive order called the Mexican Farm Labor Program established the Bracero program in 1942.
Mm-hmm. In 1942, right? Go ahead.
These series of diplomatic accords between Mexico and the United States permitted millions of Mexican men to work legally in the United States on short-term labor contracts.
So they had short-term labor contracts. It was called the Bracero program, where because of World War II, it was they didn't have any workforce because everybody went to work. All the, people went to work, needed help from someone. And who did they get? They looked to Mexico to get a workforce. Go ahead.
These agreements addressed a national agricultural labor shortage during World War II, and implicitly, they redressed previous depression era deportations and
Repatriate. Is it repatriate?
Repatriations.
Right. So that's what that's talking about is earlier what they had a time where they were deporting Mexicans to Mexico before this. Now, this is also before the time with more recently of the era of Donald Trump, the Make America Great Again in the ICE era, where recently they've been deporting Mexicans. So this is not nothing new. What we saw with ICE in more modern times, this had already happened during the time of the Depression, right? Go ahead.
That unjustly targeted Mexican Americans who were U.S. citizens upon its termination in 1964. The Bracero program had brought more than 4 million braceros to work in the U.S. agricultural and railroads.
So 4 million braceros. How you say it? How you say it? I gotta roll my tongue. Braceros. Braceros. 4 million of them. 4 million braceros came to America to work the fields, agriculture, and to work the railroads. Go ahead.
During World War II, the U.S. sought labor from millions of braceros who would return to their country of origin after the work permit expired. El Paso, Texas, the U.S. point of entry from Ciudad Juarez, served as a recruitment center for the program, which the U.S. Agricultural Department and Independent Farmer Association administered, with the Farm Bureau managing English language contracts. The United States and Mexico agreed on a set of protocols that would protect braceros from discrimination and poor wages.
Mm-hmm.
Nonetheless, discrimination continued and braceros expired surcharges for room and board, deducted pay, and exposure to deadly chemicals.
So they supposed to have protected them from low wages, right? And from being treated wrongly. And none of that happened with the braceros, right? None of that happened between the agreement, right? And I'm going to play a video. I'm going to play a video. I think it's about 5 minutes, so just bear with me. Here we go.
Do you want me to hold the last part, sir, or you want to play?
Go ahead. Oh, Salaki, go ahead. Go ahead and read that last part.
The last part is the bracero program concluded on December 31st, 1964, as mechanization became more widespread. Ultimately, the program resulted in an influx of undocumented and documented laborers, 22 years of cheap labor from Mexico, and remittance to Mexico by braceros. And that's it, sir.
So it kind of went out of style once they started. Things started getting mechanical, like more machines started to come about where they could do the agriculture. So they stopped using braceros, right? And they did this for about 20 years, 22 years. Because it was cheap labor. And these is all of the major companies like, what is it, Dole, that makes fruit, and, all of those major, companies that are into vegetables and fruit. They don't want it to be known, but they were using cheap labor. They were using these braceros to, come and work for 30 cents on the dollar, right? Excuse me. And I'm going to play this video. Let me play this video real quick about the braceros. I got to get it right. I got to get that tongue. Got to get that.
Braceros.
Say it again. Say it again.
Braceros. BR.
Braceros.
There you go.
Braceros. Right. And I had never heard of this program, but just remember, I'm staying with the helping black people. We're going to pull away from helping black people. He told white people, Dilbert, he's told white people, just get the hell away. Get the hell away. Do what you can. Just get as far away as you can. You know what? That really would help us. You know why? Because as you see, like when we was in Egypt and even in America, we do every goddamn thing. We wouldn't have a problem taking care of ourselves. We know how to farm and do agriculture. We know how to build infrastructure. We know how to invent and do all types of things. So America pulling away from black and Hispanic people, that would be a great thing. It would be a revolutionary thing. But like Commander General YAHANNA said, when you pull away and we build up our towns and our cities and our infrastructures, just don't come back and try to steal everything. Don't come back later on and try to join in. Don't try to, you know how they try to do in the protests? They try to just join in. The protest. Look, I'm not with Black Lives Matter, right?
Sir, if I may, they can't help themselves.
They can't help it. Yeah. Go ahead.
They see a good thing and they cleave to it like Salaki, white on rice.
They cleave on it like white on black, white on brown. They cleave onto it. They can't help, like the brother said, they can't help themselves, right? We get great. If America pulls away from us, what the hell would go on with America? Because all the entertainers, all the good cooks, all of the flavor and the sauce and just the enjoyment of life that they have attained comes from blacks and Hispanics. They would just seek us out just based on that, just based on the fact that they look at us and like, well, we don't have any ideas. We need y'all to spark our brains and to give us some ideas. And I was sitting one time with my rib and I was looking at the commercials. All of the commercials have to implement some type of like hip hop, whether it's selling clothes, selling cars, selling food. They got to implement something from us to make it like, have a certain type of vibe. And I'm like, bruh, this is crazy. Like, they don't have anything that is original to themselves, right? They don't have anything. But let me play this video because we're short on time. So let me play this. Let me see. We're going to screen share.
Workers are brought across the border every year. They are given a quickie physical examination at El Centro, then sent to work on big farms in the Imperial Valley, the San Joaquin Valley, the San Valley, the Santa Clara Valley. They work more for big farmers who call themselves growers, although they personally grow and harvest only profits. Before World War II, most of the workers in California's fields were domestic agricultural laborers, following the crops every year. During the war, a farm labor shortage developed. Mexican workers were brought in to meet the emergency. Then the war ended. The emergency was over. But the employers knew a good thing when they saw one. They decided to keep on importing braceros from Mexico under agreements between the U.S. and Mexican governments. Now they prefer Mexican nationals to domestic labor.
You hear that? You hear that, Jaime?
Con.
When it was over, they was like, they seen a good thing. They preferred the braceros rather than domestic labor, rather than regular Americans, white Americans. They wanted the Mexican brothers because they knew that they can get it cheap, and they can get good work out of that cheap pay.
Con, sir.
That's crazy.
Not because of some sentimental attachment for Mexican food or Mexican culture or Mexican music, nor because of any real shortage of domestic American labor. It is because a big supply of imported Mexican labor forces down the real wages of American farm workers. It is because an endless supply of destitute contract labor.
So it said it's not because they loved Mexican food or Mexican culture. That's not why they wanted Mexicans. They wanted them because it forced down the price of the labor. They could get the labor cheap. That's why they wanted Mexicans. It had nothing to do with respecting them and seeing that they are hardworking people. Nothing at all.
Means more profits for the owners of California's rich soil and guarantees them against organization of these workers into unions. Teamsters in California make about $3 an hour. Carpenters make about $3.25. The common labor rate is about $2.80. These workers need every cent they earn to meet the ever-rising cost of living. But what do you think agricultural workers make? 70 to 85 cents an hour on the average for field labor. About $1 to $1.25 an hour for machine labor. Often it is much less. These are the going rates for farm workers. Each year, the number of contract workers or braceros brought in from Mexico increases until it now reaches more than 150,000 a year in California. They live in barracks, housing as many as 2,000 men. Any bracero who complains about wages or conditions can be sent back to Mexico on the next bus, and he sometimes is. The bracero
Salaki, well, you heard that. They use us. They use Mexicans, braceros, right? And they still use that today. It's still done today. Am I right, Jaime?
Con.
It's still done today. When you look at California and you look at the, the Imperial Valley and all the areas of agriculture, it's Mexicans that are picking those vegetables, that fruit, and they're using them for that cheap labor. Now they talk about making America great again. America would not be great without Mexicans. America would not be great without Native American Indians. America would not be great without Black people. It just wouldn't, right? We don't need America. Like that cartoonist Dilbert said, don't help them. It's a lost cause. Good. Fine. Because from what I see, we can take care of our damn self. And also, if we turn to the east and face Jerusalem and remember who we are in America, remember who we are in Mexico, remember who we are on those reservations, remember who we are in the favelas, then the Lord will look at us and he'll be on our side. He'll be on our side and we won't need anybody, right? If the Lord is with us, who could be against us? Who could be against us, right? If you could go back to Exodus. Go back to Exodus 2:25. And I want you to start at I guess you could start at 23 again. Go ahead.
Khan or Khan.
I'm not going to be able to get to I will get it. I am Salakia. I have to get this out. Go ahead.
The book of Exodus, chapter 2, verse 23.
Uh-huh.
And it came to pass in process of time that the king of Egypt died, and the children of Israel sighed by reason of the bondage.
Mm-hmm.
And they cried, and their cry came up unto the Salakia, and their cry came up unto God by reason of their bondage.
The cry came up. Why do you think that cry came up? That cry came up because that cry was deep in the gut. That cry was a cry of, I don't know what the hell is going on. I don't have any pride. That was that cry. That cry was a cry of, I don't know or have any answers for what's going on. That is not a cry that they do in Christian church or the Catholic church. That is not that proud cry where you think you know God. This is a cry where you're crying to the Lord and you do not have any answers and you have a contrite spirit. Remember, the Lord says you got to have a contrite spirit in order for him to hear you. He rather you have a contrite spirit, a broken spirit, than to give him sacrifice, than for you to come and have a gift. That cry was a cry of, Lord, we need your help. And we don't have the answers. And these people are oppressing us. That is the cry that the Lord is looking for. Go ahead.
Verse 24.
Mm-hmm.
And God heard their groaning, and God remembered his covenant with Abraham, with Isaac, and with Jacob.
Mm-hmm.
Verse 25. And God looked upon the children of Israel, and God had respect unto them.
Damn. It says the Most High looked at the children of Israel and he had respect on them. He respected them. Can you imagine that? Like you're crying out to the Lord and he look at you and he respect you. And you know why he respected the children of Israel? Because they was not proud. They were not sinning. They were not twerking. They were not killing one another. They were not, selling drugs to one another. They were truly trying to follow him and ask and beg him to get them out of that situation. That's what the Lord is looking for, man. Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians are the greatest people that the Lord has ever created on this planet. And he created a lot of different nations. He's waiting on us to turn and face the east and cry out to him, to keep the law, statute, and commandments and cry out to him so that he can turn and look at us and have respect on us. And then we can get up out of this place. Things can change, right? We're going to drop that. I want you to, if you could, you know what? Give me Matthew 18 and 15. Now I want to talk about High Priest Ariah. High Priest Ariah, from my understanding, just passed away, right? He is the man responsible for giving you the 12 tribes chart through the Spirit of the Lord. Through the Spirit of the Lord, he did the extensive research and gave us the foundation of what you know is the truth today. And you have a lot of different sects and ideologies that have came from this truth. You have a lot of different fake Israelite groups that have came from this truth. And so when he passed, you had a lot of fake Israelite groups that said horrible things about him, because in his older age, he went off and said some things that might have not been correct, right? He said some things that were off. And these brothers that are not seasoned, that are not in the truth, cursed him and talked down on this brother, this great man, this great brother that the Lord was with, that gave us the foundation of the truth that you know today. And they talk down about him, right? Here's my thing, man. This is my thing, you know. I'm from the hood. I'm from IE. I'm from San Bernardino, California, the Inland Empire. Like, and I'm sure anybody else, wherever you from, you know this. Like, you're from the hood. When somebody passes away, if somebody was to pass away, and and then someone starts talking about all the bad things and throwing dirt on their name, you know that's a no-no in the hood. You know that's something that you don't do. And I'm talking from a carnal level. I'm not talking about in the truth. I'm just saying, like, it's not something that you do. It's not something that's cool. It's not cool to talk. Like, most people would say, why you didn't say that when he was alive? Why you didn't say that to him when he was alive? You know what? You're a coward. You're a weirdo. You funny style. You fake, because you didn't have the heart to say the things when the person was alive. You know what I'm saying? And so that's how I look at it. I look at it like that. And also with these people that are talking down on the High Priest Ariah, I look at it also like this. It's a social media thing. It's a play on words to get views. It's a play on words to monetize their pages and to get views and get likes and looks and all of those things. It's not really sincere anyway. You know what I mean? It's fake, it's phony. And I can't blame people if you're not in the truth, because you don't know brotherhood. You don't know the things that you should say and you shouldn't say. You don't stand on nothing. You're not under no man. So you don't know. You don't know, right? And so another thing I would say is, when it comes to any brother going off, any brother starts to say something that is different from the doctrine that we learn and the traditions that we learn, it's not my job to condemn a brother. It's not my job to talk down on a brother. That's not my job. The Israelites didn't do that to Moses. They didn't do that to Solomon. And King David didn't do that to Saul. So who in the hell are you? Who in the hell are you to talk down on the Lord's anointed? Right? I'm talking about it. We probably can get that. Matter of fact, let me get that. I'm gonna get that with Dave. Give me 2 Samuel's chapter 1. verse 1. 2 Samuel chapter 1, verse 1.
The book of 2 Samuel, chapter 1, verse 1. And now it came to pass after the death of Saul, when David was returned from the slaughter of the Amalekites, and David had abode 2 days in Ziklag. Verse 2. It came even to pass on the 3rd day that, behold, a man came out of the camp from Saul with his clothes rent and earth upon his head. And so it was, when he came to David, that he fell to the earth and did abase. Verse 3.
Where you at? You at verse 3?
Come.
Okay. He did obscene. So on verse 2, it says a man came out of the camp of Saul with his clothes ripped and the earth on his head. That was a custom in Israel. When somebody died, you would rip your clothes and you put dust on your head. And he came to David and he fell on the ground and he did obscenes, like he fell on his feet before King David. Go ahead.
Verse 3. And David said unto him, from whence comest thou? And he said unto him, out of the camp of Israel am I escaped.
Right.
Verse 4. And David said unto him, how went the matter? I pray thee, tell me. And he answered, that the people are fled from the battle, and many of the people also are fallen and dead. And Saul and Jonathan, his son, are dead also. Verse 5. And David said unto the young man that told him, how knowest thou that Saul and Jonathan, his son, be dead?
So this young man told David that Saul and Jonathan was dead, that he got away out of the battle, and he's telling David both of them are dead. So David is like, how you know that they did? Go ahead.
Verse 6. And the young man that told him said, as I happened by chance upon Mount Gilboa, behold, Saul leaned upon his spear, and lo, the chariots and horsemen followed hard after him. Verse 7.
So Saul was injured. Go ahead. So Saul was injured. The young man is telling the story that Saul was injured. He fell upon the spear. He was injured. Go ahead.
And when he looked behind him, he saw me and called unto me, and I answered, here I am. Verse 8. And he said unto me, who art thou? And I answered him, I am an Amalekite. Verse 9. He said unto me again, stand, I pray thee, upon me, and slay me.
So he's saying that Saul told, when the young man said Saul seen him, he said, I'm at the end. Go ahead and slay me. Go ahead and just put me out of my misery. Go ahead.
For anguish is come upon me, because my life is yet whole in me. Verse 10. So I stood upon him and slew him.
So he stood upon Saul, the king of Israel, and slew him. Go ahead.
Because I was sure that he could not live after what he was fallen.
So the man said, I was sure he couldn't live. That's why I slew him. He told me to kill him, and I slew him. Go ahead.
And I took the crown that was upon his head and the bracelet that was on his arm, and have brought them hither unto my Lord.
So he said, I took his crown off his head and his bracelet, and I brought it here to you, my Lord, who is King David. Go ahead.
Then David took hold on his clothes and rent them, and likewise all the men that were with him.
So David took his clothes and ripped them, and all the brothers that was with them. Go ahead.
Verse 12. And they mourned and wept.
Hold on 1 second. I just want to say that King David was on the run from King Saul. King Saul sought to kill King David. King Saul wanted to take David's life. You understand what I'm saying? So think about that for a minute. Saul wanted to take David's life, and now David is hearing that Saul is now deceased. He ripped his clothes, which was the custom of the Israelites, and now read Jaime.
Verse 12. And they mourned and wept and fasted until even.
So he mourned and he wept and he fasted till evening. Go ahead.
For Saul and for Jonathan his son, and for the people of the Lord, and for the house of Israel, because they were fallen by the sword. Verse 13. And David said unto the young man that told him, Whence art thou? And he answered, I am the son of a stranger and Amalekite. Verse 14. And David said unto him, How wast thou not afraid to stretch forth thine hand to destroy the Lord's anointed?
So David said to him, like, where were you from? How was you not afraid to stretch forth your hand and to kill the Lord's anointed, who was Saul? Go ahead.
Verse 15. And David called one of the young men and said, Go near and fall upon him. And he smote him that he died.
So David said, he called one of the young men and said, fall on him. Fall on him. And he killed that man that killed Saul. What is the point? The point is, who in the hell are you to condemn any brother for whatever he's done? Whether he's been a murderer, whether he sought to kill you, he's still the Lord's anointed. You understand what I'm saying? So who in the hell are you to say something about any brother, especially priest Ariah, that gave us the 12 tribes chart, that gave us the foundation, that put in the work? His videos are up. You know what I'm saying? The videos you can learn, a plethora of knowledge from. Who in the hell are you to speak down on him? Are you the Most High? Are you King David? You should sit your ass down. You should get in class. And you are a goddamn coward, and you have no brotherhood. You have no brotherhood. You understand? Are you better than King David? You understand? Is that it on it? That's it on it. Drop it. Give me Matthew 18 and 15. The sister said, why did he put dust on the head? What does that mean? It means nothing. The dust means nothing. It's just a custom of the ancient Israelites. It's a custom of mourning. Let me know when you got it. Matthew 18 and 15. Salakia. 18 and 15.
Salakia, sir. The book of Matthew, chapter 18, verse 15. Moreover, if thy brother shall trespass against thee, go and tell him his fault between thee and him alone.
So if you have a brother that you don't like, you don't get along with, you don't like what he said, you don't like what he did, go to him and go to him alone. You understand? Don't go to social media. Don't go, snickering and telling somebody and, gossiping. You go to him and him alone. You understand? That's real brotherhood. Go ahead.
If he shall hear thee, thou hast gained thy brother.
Go ahead.
Verse 16. But if he will not hear thee, then take with thee one or two more, that in the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses every word may be established.
So, like, you can drop that. That's just how you're supposed to deal with brothers and sisters. Brothers, sisters and sisters, you're supposed to go to them and them alone, and then take witnesses or whatever. That's how you deal with it. But my point is like, if you really had a problem, you should have said it when the brother was alive. Don't come out saying things when somebody passes away. That even in the world, that is the mark of a coward, man. That's the mark of a coward, right? Because in the world, if somebody passed away, what in the hell could it help that you're saying something about them now? Nothing. So why even say it? Your disagreement or how you felt doesn't matter anymore. They're no longer here. So why even say it? You're a coward. Give me Matthew 18 and 21.
The book of Matthew, chapter 18, verse 21. Then came Peter to him and said, Lord, how oft shall my brother sin against me and I forgive him? Till 7 times? Jesus said, Salakio, verse 22. Jesus said unto him, I say not unto thee until 7 times, but until 70 times 7.
Right. So you're supposed to have the mindset that you're going to forgive your brothers and sisters an infinite amount of times. It shouldn't be something that has a Dorito so far up your behind that you decide that you want to say something when they have passed away. You're a coward, right? Give me John 13 and 34. John 13 and 34. And I'll take the check-in for this because I didn't get clearance on whether or not we should talk about this particular topic with priest Ariah, with fake Israelites in the world disrespecting him in his passing. So I'll take the check-in on that.
The book of John, chapter 13, verse 34. A new commandment I give unto you, that ye love one another as I have loved you, that ye also love one another.
So a new commandment, that we love one another as he have loved us. Now we have brothers that have disrespected high priest Ariah in his death. Do you even follow Christ? Do you even know this precept? Because if Christ can forgive the man that was a murderer and overlook it, why can't you forgive and overlook anything that high priest Ariah ever did? And why say something now? Because you're a coward and you're not in the truth. And you have no brotherhood. Christ is the epitome of brotherhood. The I.S.U.P.K is the epitome of brotherhood. I have never in my life heard Commander Junior YAHANNA say anything against any brother that he didn't get along with. Nothing. I've never heard it unless they said something towards the I.S.U.P.K. But other than that, I've never heard Commander Junior YAHANNA say any bad thing about any brother that passed away or anything like that. That's real brotherhood. And that's something that outside of the I.S.U.P.K, everyone lacks. And they don't have the truth. And they don't understand the scriptures. With that, we're going to end the class. The water for the brother Jaime, young man Jaime, rocking with me. The water for you, the water to that. I appreciate you coming on, reading for us. Yeah. So make sure that your brotherhood is solid. Make sure you understand what brotherhood really is. And make sure you don't find yourself in one of these fake Israelite groups or these YouTube Israelite groups or one of these just random groups that think they know the Bible and think they know what brotherhood is when they really do not. So we're going to end it with that, Israel. Hey, listen, man, I'm going to be at the Passover. Jaime, you going to be at the Passover?
Most definitely, sir.
We're going to be at the Passover. So make sure you're at the Passover. I look forward to seeing every brother and sister. I look forward. Now, I don't look forward to saluting everybody. I might give you a head nod. Like, I don't know if I can salute everybody. My arms might get tired because there's going to be so many brothers and sisters out there, right? But I look forward to seeing all brothers and sisters out there representing the Lord, representing the Passover. in the spirit of brotherhood and sisterhood. With that, Lord in Christ, Shalom, Israel.
Shalom, Lord in Christ.
Shalom.